Hey guys, so welcome back to the Candle Channel. Today on the Candle Channel, we are going to be doing a Bath & Body Works haul of basically the new Fall 2021 fragrances that dropped here for the last week of semi-annual sale at Bath & Body Works. And they also did a $10 off promotion. I had some gift cards that I have received, and so I used some of those. And then also I was chomping at the bit to get some of the fall stuff. So it's kind of like 2/3 hauls combined in one. Basically, there was one online order of just a single candle, and then there was 2 separate hauls of the fall stuff, and we'll get right into it. There's also one fall body care item that will be right at the end, so if you're interested in any of that, then stay tuned. So yeah, let's get into it with just some wholesome, good old-fashioned candle content here on the Candle Channel. So let's see. Oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. Let's go with like newness first and go from there. So we have the Honey Wildflower candle right here. This is the new signature collection body care fragrance that's coming out from Bath & Body Works. So you'll get the shower gel, body cream, fine fragrance mist, all that kind of stuff. It has a white lid on it. And this one says crisp pear, fresh wildflowers, and sweet honey. This one is still $24.50, and that is what that looks like. It does have white wax with the coral wicks, as you can see right there. And this smells really nice. It's very like quintessentially Bath & Body Works bright, happy, fun type of fragrance. And what I get the most is definitely the honey. It's not quite as like, so if you smell like real honey or their past honey fragrances, such as Honey Tangerine, which is pretty much sweet honeybee as well, as we can see right here. This honey has like a very much like a urine-y quality to it. Like, sorry to say, but it just has a like, yeah, whoa. Like you smell this and it smells like somebody just peed like on the floor. And that is what this smells like. There's very much like a urine-y quality to honey, and like, I guess real honey kind of does smell urine-y. It's just the way it is. And this one has a little bit of it, but it is definitely a little bit more, not so intensely urine as this is. But you get a more pleasant and palatable, sweet honey fragrance that is sort of like brightened with a floral component. The floral is not super heavy. I would say think of like bright, happy florals that you might find in like Beautiful Day or Gingham. I would say that kind of route is what I get from this. It has that very quintessentially like Bath & Body Works bright, happy type of floral is what I get from it. It just has fresh wildflowers in there. It kind of reminds me of like the fresh, clean, sweet, light-hearted floral you might get in something like the Picnic Summer Daisies here, which had pear, daisies, honeysuckle, and nectarine. So this is pear and wildflowers, and this is pear and daisies. So it not exactly the same, but a similar vibe as like Picnic Summer Daisies. So that type of floral is what I'm thinking of. Like a more simple, clean floral is what I get from it, but it's not overly floral. But yeah, the honey also reminds me, this is very, very, very close to Coco Shea honey. Remember Coco Shea honey from the Coco Shea collection? Very similar to Coco Shea honey. I think that is probably the most closest to this. I have Coco Shea honey, but it's in my parents' house, so I can't compare on the spot right now. But I have used that recently. Very, very similar vibe to Coco Shea honey. So if you enjoy Coco Shea honey, I think you'll probably enjoy the body care too, and the candle as well. It's not, you know, it's very pleasant. I haven't burned it yet. Right now I'm just fine with one, so that's kind of just where I'm at with it. It's nice, pleasant, quintessentially Bath & Body Works. A nice honey fragrance, especially if you don't want to go full on urine-y like this, but very similar to the similar floral and honey notes that Coco Shea honey has. It says pear in there. Not a whole lot. There's something a little bit sweet or fruity about it, but I don't think if it was listed, I wouldn't necessarily pick it out, but it's in there. So yeah, that is what the Honey Wildflower is. The pressed like flower wraparound is pretty. The shower gel was available, but I didn't pick it up because it's just like I already have Coco Shea honey and Picnic Summer Daisies, so I don't really need that. The other honey fragrance that we've had in the past, which this also had a pear in it, so that's why I'm bringing it up. It's the Hey Honey Honeyed Pear right here. And that's what that looks like. This was warm poached pear, buttery caramel, and honey nectar. This is not at all it. This is a very gourmand honey. This I always thought of being like like caramel honey pear crumble fragrance is what I got from it. It was delicious. It's like a very gourmand, like crumbly, delicious dessert fragrance that you got in there with the caramel and the honey. Like I wouldn't mind seeing this. And definitely like a poached pear fragrance in there as well. This is totally different. It's definitely more of a gourmand honey fragrance, like complete with like a bakery element to it. Obviously there's honey in both, so that's similar, but this is definitely more like a body care floral fragrance, whereas this is full-on bakery, so it's not that. But just wanted to be exhaustive in comparing it to other honey fragrances, especially because that was honeyed pear as well. So that was the honey wildflower fragrance. And then let's see, let's move on to, there's a whole crap load of White Barn Core. They're really promoting the heck out of the Color Run collection. And the Color Run collection is $25.50, and then with a 10 off it's $15.50, so that extra dollar does kind of add up, especially if you don't have a lot of couponage. Just throwing that out there to make it aware. But yeah, so these are $25.50 now right there. These also have the low profile lids, which I thought would like be cheap, but I'm actually kind of digging them. They look really sleek and like streamlined. They still fit in there plenty fine. That I kind of like how like slim they are. I don't know, it's kind of growing on me. So that's what that is. So the first one we have is Iced Dragonfruit Tea. The fishy lids are still running rampant in the stores. That's still very much a thing. I know blackberries and basil, whoa, boy, was that plagued with some fishy lids. There were some other, I think, some batches of Lavender Bergamot also had fishy lids on them. Some batches of, was it Pumpkin Vanilla Creme, also had like, not a fishy fragrance, but like a dirty fragrance to it. There's definitely still lid production issues, and I was talking to one manager at one store, and she was saying they were supposed to have changed suppliers and companies of whoever makes the lid completely. And so she was like totally, like she was like crushed or devastated that she was still getting these fishy lids, which I love that, like, you know, passion or enthusiasm that manager had. Like she actually felt like directly accountable somehow, even though she wasn't. But like, you know, she was like so like, you know, behind her products that she was really like visibly crushed and devastated when she saw fishy lids, because she's like, why are you rubbing the wax on that candle jar? And I was like, oh, you know, there's like fishy lids on some of these candles, so it's really hard for me to do the usual lid smelling thing because the lid smells like fish. She's like, what are you talking about? She's like, where did she hear that from? I'm like, oh, it's all over the internet. And she's like, oh my god, you can't. Like she was like totally like not having it in like a wholesome kind of way that there was fishy lids, and like she was upset about it because she was, you know, so behind her product. So totally shout out to that manager. She was really fun. But yeah, so she was like, oh my gosh, so we're gonna have to take all these lids off and put dust covers on. So the fishy lid thing is still happening, which is a shame because, you know, like they pulled a lot of candles before, and you know, they have to air out the candles and all this kind of stuff. It's a whole fiasco, but the fishy lid thing is still happening, unfortunately. But in any case, moving back to Iced Dragonfruit Tea. This is the new like reformulated labels that have the notes on it, and they do actually take the opportunity to mix up the notes on the front from the bottom. Obviously, like every slot they have for a note is a marketing opportunity in terms of like marketing or pushing a different fragrance or note to you out there in hopes that one of them will sort of kind of capture your attention. So like for instance, on Lavender Bergamot, the front says vanilla bean on it, even though the bottom says warm tonka bean on it. And even though warm tonka bean and like vanilla bean are very similar fragrance notes, someone might read tonka bean and not make the association that it has a similar fragrance profile to vanilla bean. So it's kind of like they have an extra opportunity to promote another note in some of these candles, and also makes it visible on the wall as well. So I guess I see the reasoning or logic behind why they added notes on the front of these White Barn ones, and so there's that. So in any case, Iced Dragonfruit Tea on the front says pink dragonfruit, green tea, and fresh lemonade. On the bottom it says tropical dragonfruit, vibrant green tea, lemonade, and sweet coconut milk. And these all have white wax in them, and that's what that looks like, and they have the matte jars on them. I do have to say these jars seem to be substantially higher quality than some of their previous colored jars that they've had. Previous ones will like scratch off really easily, or even the matte ones will have like a speckling to it where it wasn't like totally and completely like opaque, or, you know, like like they were see-through components to it and they were like blotchy or spotty. These are like smooth and gorgeous. So like these actually like feel like it's probably still a treatment that's applied on top of the glass, but it kind of looks like it isn't. So kudos to them on the quality of the jars there. Still work to be had on the fishy lids though. So this is a new fragrance, one of the very few new fragrances in the core line. And what does this smell like? I was very on and off on this fragrance because normally I just really don't enjoy tropical fruit fragrances, but there was something about it that was just like, I kind of still like it, so I'm going to try and pick it up. It's new. I don't have it in my collection, so I'm like, it's good to go there. It kind of smells like mango dragon fruit from before, which I think was Mary Mango originally. Had a very like ripe, juicy mango tropical fruit fragrance to that. It's not that though. I don't think it's a repackage, but it shares a similar like mangoey dragon fruit tropical fragrance type of feel to it. If you recall, mango coconut cooler, similar to that, but not that at all, but similar fragrance feel to it. But this one, it's not as like mango dragon fruit / Mary Mango had like a almost overly ripe, overly sweet fragrance to it that it almost smelled like a mango that was like ripened in the sun, and like the sun was like over-ripening it and it started to get mushy and gooey, and it kind of reminded me of like overripe tomatoes. There was like a tomatoey, just like overripe quality to it. This actually tones it down a little bit, so you still get that similar mango dragon fruit type of fragrance, but it gets toned down by the like green tea lemonade. And at first I was like, is that green tea lemonade just totally like, imaginary notes in there? When you go to burn it, you do get a subtle like something like that sort of like tempers the fragrance or makes it a little bit more balanced, and I really appreciate that. It's like, instead of the mango dragon fruit component being like dialed up to 100% as it is in mango dragon fruit or Mary Mango, there is like a like green tea, like a earthy, slightly earthy green tea feel to it. You know how if you smell green tea, there's like a bitterness to it, and if you mix that sort of bitterness with like lemonade, you get like this sort of bright, but not overly artificial brightness. That's what I really enjoy about it. It's a very subtle, like nuanced feel to it. I'm really dissecting it, but I enjoy that like green tea lemonade feel to it. There is a little bit of citrus in there from the lemonade, but it's not overly so. So you get the like sort of dragon fruit / mango tropical fruit in there that is kind of like tempered by the lemonade / green tea components in there. It's not full on tea, so don't think that you're getting like a London tea, like with a tea lemon, London calling. Don't think like quite that, or even blackberry tea leaf where there's almost like a floral component. Not like that, but a subtle, like just earthy, like just a nice thing to sort of bring down the sweetness of the dragon fruit. Sweet coconut milk, no, not really. There's a slight creaminess to it that makes it evoke a very like thirst quenching drink to it, but I wouldn't necessarily go to coconut milk or coconut just as a whole. But there's very much like a juicy quality to it. It kind of reminds me of like if you get like a bubble tea, like a boba tea like fragrance or boba tea drink in real life. There's that sort of like creaminess mixed with like a fruitiness to it. Think of like a lychee like boba tea, or any kind of like mango boba tea, or some kind of like tropical drink boba tea is definitely what I get from this. I get like a, very much like a like fruity drink tea fragrance. And so I enjoy that. So that's iced dragon fruit tea right there. And that is what that is. The next one we have is Lavender Bergamot, which is indeed a new fragrance. And that's what that looks like right here. And this one is bright lavender, bold bergamot zest, and warm tonka bean. This one also has white wax on it as well. This one, I think some of them have like a fishy lid on it, so it's really hard to get a read on it. But I have burned it, and it's nice. It's definitely different from all their other lavender fragrances. I think it's a totally new fragrance, which I appreciate. You get lavender, the lid smells totally off on this. You get the lavender in there. It's not as sharp or astringent as French lavender, which I finally found with white lavender eucalyptus. That's been like an online exclusive for the past years, but I haven't smelled it until it was finally in stores for this floor set. That is just French lavender from before, and I always thought it was a different fragrance because I've never smelled it, but I'm pretty sure it's just French lavender. But it's not as sharp or astringent as that French lavender fragrance or the lavender eucalyptus thing that's out there. It's a little bit more powdery, almost like a baby powder type of feel to it. It has a very like calming effect to it. I also kind of get like nighttime tea / the calm fragrance that we had at aromatherapy. That type of like calming, like I don't know, like a baby powder, like putting like a baby to sleep, kind of just like a calming feel to it is what I get. Like almost like a lullaby in a fragrance. That sounds kind of weird, but that's what I get with it. It's kind of like the Aromatherapy Lavender Vanilla, which is not to be confused with the Lavender Vanilla that's just the plain Lavender Vanilla. The Aromatherapy one had a slightly different feel to it. This has an Aromatherapy feel to it. This could most certainly be in the Aromatherapy collection, I would believe it. It's that type of fragrance. And it says bergamot in there. It's not that grody bergamot that you get in a lot of their cologne fragrances. It's not as zesty or, I don't know, even bitter as like traditional bergamot fragrances are. But there is something, I don't know, a little bit, I guess, different about it. I honestly just get like a different take on a lavender vanilla fragrance. And of course it says vanilla bean / warm tonka bean on there, but think of more like a sophisticated vanilla in the vein of the vanilla patchouli fragrance, kind of that type of like inedible, non-gourmand vanilla mixed with a slightly different lavender. And then I guess that bergamot is in there that gives it a slightly different, like, I don't know, powdery / aromatherapy vibe to it. And that is what I got from Lavender Bergamot, and that is what that is right there. The next one we have in this juicy, glossy jar is Pumpkin Vanilla Creme right here, which is returning again. And this one is Creamy Pumpkin, Vanilla Creme, Fresh Ground Nutmeg, and Graham Cracker Crust. And this one, oh my god, I'm so excited because this one's finally in white wax, and because it's in white wax, it has different wicks as well, and it has the core wicks, which is, I believe this is the first time we've had a core wicks on this fragrance. So, this smells so good. Even though the lid has that like similar like dirty, it's not quite fishy, but it's like a dirty fragrance that Lavender Bergamot has as well. I think there's something wrong with these lids as well. This was out last year in this matte jar of Pumpkin Vanilla Creme right here with pretty much the same notes. And this is actually a repackage of, it was out as Pumpkin Vanilla in the low profile collection at one point, and then also out originally as Pumpkin Pie, which we can see here, which burned atrociously for me. It is the same fragrance to me, in my opinion. I don't even detect any even a 10% difference. I think it's really just a repackage of that fragrance. This is gorgeous. If you're looking for the quintessential perfect pumpkin, like gourmand fragrance, this is totally it. It legit smells like pumpkin pie. It's kind of always like shocking to me that this does not do well or sell well as pumpkin pie, because if it did, you better believe they would keep repackaging this as pumpkin pie. But the fact that this keeps getting repackaged as either pumpkin vanilla or pumpkin vanilla creme goes to show you that pumpkin pie for some reason doesn't perform as well as it does with the name pumpkin vanilla creme, which is strange because you think like someone's looking for a pumpkin pie fragrance, like they would like, you know, be all about like this juicy ass pumpkin pie imagery on this label, but that is just simply not the case, I guess. I guess it must sell better as pumpkin vanilla creme, which is crazy, but it is what it is. Buttery, juicy, nutmeg and ginger infused, gorgeous, like gooey, you know, pumpkin filling in the pumpkin pie, mixed with like a heaps of like whipped cream, vanilla action on there, mixed with a buttery crumble, graham cracker crust. You get the graham cracker crust in here. It's buttery, it's crumbly, it's just absolutely delicious. If you want a pumpkin pie fragrance, this is totally it. Don't let the name fool you. Like, this is totally pumpkin pie to me, in my opinion, as was the pumpkin vanilla in the low profile collection. Smells gorgeous. And the thing is, like, this pumpkin pie burned like trash. Even though it did good at the beginning, but there's another thing. Don't hoard or hold on to too many candles, especially if you live in like a warm climate, because oh my gosh, so many of my vanilla and pumpkin spice fragrances, unburned, like new, the wicks will turn brown, like they rust and they get grody. And then they stop burning well. So like, just, yeah, I'm certainly not going to hoard any more candles anymore, because so many of the ones in my collection, the wicks actually go bad and they dud out and they don't burn as well anymore. That could be because I live in a particularly warm climate, so it might not happen to you if you live in a colder climate. But for me, so many of like my candles just like have dudded out, like the wicks will go bad, even though they're brand new candles. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to hoard too many candles anymore. But in any case, last year's had the dark orange wax, and to combat you know, dark orange wax, they have to use different wicks, and a lot of times they have to wick up. But then what happens is the dye, you have to put a lot more dye to get like a really dark color. It clogs the wick, so the performance suffers when you have dark colored like dye. And that is what happened with this one. I had to keep cotton balling it because I had the thick rope like wicks, but it would keep dudding out because the wicks would get clogged by all the dye that's up in there. So that was not good either. Pumpkin vanilla also burned like crap as well, even though that had white wax. And I think just the very original pumpkin pie burned well for me. This one is thankfully in white wax with like thick core wicks. So fingers crossed this makes like juicy ass mushroom tops and just burns really well. So that's pumpkin vanilla creme there. I'm really excited to see how the performance does on that, because I haven't had satisfaction out of that fragrance in quite some time. well, this is going to be a very long video, but whatever, let's just go in with a bang. Pumpkin Spice Latte. So this came out last year. It was in that like plaid buffalo check pattern, but this was also during lockdown, so I wasn't super into Bath and Body Works at that moment because I had a lot of other things going on, but it does appear in a matte jar here, as you can see, and also in a single wick with has some like Hello Gorgeous thing with gourds on it. This one is Pumpkin Spice Fresh Espresso Whipped Cream. The bottom says Pumpkin Pie Spice Freshly Brewed Espresso Homemade Whipped Cream and a sprinkling of cinnamon sugars. This one also has white wax with the thick rope-like wicks, and that's what that looks like. This smells pretty good, but it's very, very similar, and the reason I didn't pick it up last year was because I just suspected it was the same thing as the Sweet Tiramisu Ciao Bella candle right here, and that's what that looks like. This was whipped sweet cream, vanilla sponge cake, and fresh brewed Italian espresso. This didn't really have a lot of coffee in it. There's like an implied burnt note, and I actually kind of ragged on this when it first came out because I just had really high hopes for a tiramisu candle to have more heaps of actual dark espresso in there, and it didn't. It was more like this sort of sponge cake vanilla fragrance that was what it actually ended up being. But then once like I got over the whole sweet tiramisu labeling and naming, oh my god, I love this to pieces, and I actually bought like 3 or 4 of them because this is just like a great, juicy, delicious like vanilla cake with extra something fragrance, and like the implied espresso made it a little bit darker, so it wasn't just your generic run-of-the-mill vanilla bean, marshmallow vanilla fragrance. Like it was this scrumptious vanilla fragrance that had something else going on to it that was unique that I really enjoyed. So I actually really started enjoying the hell out of sweet tiramisu, and I kept like burning through many of them. I think I have like maybe 2 left in my collection, like 1 burn, and this was the new one that we have. It's still like 80 to 85% the same as sweet tiramisu. It has that same cream note in there, the same like slightly burnt coffee note. It has as much coffee as like whipped coffee, aka what is it, white caramel cold brew had, which was not a whole lot of coffee. It was more like if you spilled coffee on the counter and you smell the residual of that coffee fragrance, that amount of coffee, or like the International Delights like fake coffee, that type of fragrance of coffee is what I get in white caramel cold brew whipped coffee / this pumpkin spice latte. It's nowhere near as strong as Paris Cafe, so just keep that in mind. But I feel like this actually does have just a hint of a like pumpkin pie spice clove component in here that kind of evokes like the pumpkin syrup that you would get, like the pumpkin spice latte syrup you would get at Starbucks. There is a hint of a pumpkin. I just like can picture that rich, ooey gooey, bright orange syrup, oh my god, from Starbucks when you get a pumpkin spice latte. I get that thick like syrup feel is what I get from it, and there is a little bit more of a pumpkin spice fragrance in this than there is in this. This is like the coffee, so to speak. It's like the candle before it has the pumpkin spice element in it, but that is what pumpkin spice latte is. I didn't burn it last year, so I am intrigued to see if there are indeed differences on that candle going forward. Let's see. Moving on, the next White Barn Core, we have White Pumpkin. I bought this the very first year that it came out in that Gilded Garden collection or whatever, and it dudded out on me, so I didn't love it, but I'm trying it again this year. It's ginger to white pumpkin, caramel glaze, and warm blended spices. This sweet cinnamon pumpkin and pumpkin clove are very, very all similar, but they have very subtle differences. This is the first year it has caramel glaze as a note on the candle, but the ginger is probably the most strongest in this. There is a gingered creaminess in here that is not quite as apparent in sweet cinnamon pumpkin or pumpkin clove. I would say this has a little bit more ginger, a little bit more creaminess. There's almost like a frothiness. I think there were like references made to being like a pumpkin chai type of fragrance, and I totally can get on board with that. There's like more of a sweet juiciness to white pumpkin, but a like subtle prettiness to it as well that I really enjoy. It doesn't really evoke a white pumpkin. So that's that right there, and that's what that is. Oh my god, moving on, we have I think 5 more candles and then 1 body care, and we'll go from there. We have the Luminary collection. Marshmallow Fireside, everybody knows what this is. Duds out on me. Used to be a great performer from like way back in the Cycling & Co days, but then they kind of like screwed it up towards the end of the years, where it always duds out and just like low throw and just so many any issues with it, which totally sucks. So this year it has white wax with thin core wicks. So we're gonna see how it does. It still smells great on cold. Everybody knows what this is: toasted marshmallow, smoldering woods, fire roasted vanilla, and crystallized amber. And so always a quintessential fragrance. I don't have any in my collection, so I was really looking forward to picking another one up, and that's what that is right there. We then have Pumpkin Clove in the same collection right there. This one's clove buds, ground cinnamon, a pinch of nutmeg, and fresh pumpkin. This one is the first year that it's in white wax with thick rope-like wick. So I'm excited about that because Pumpkin Clove has come out 2 years prior to this. And both times they had a really dark orange wax. And once again, with the whole thing about putting more dye in a candle, often clogs the wicks. And Pumpkin Clove, for me, even though a lot of people raved about it, it would burn good for like the first 2 burns. It would just completely dud out and would become actually unscented on the second half. That I could never really get much enjoyment out of it. And so I think I picked it up the second year, but I returned it just because people were saying it did the same thing. So this year it has white wax with a thick rope-like wick, which is different from the thin curling wicks that I've had before. So I am optimistic for better performance that goes all the way down to the bottom and does well. So we will see. So that is Pumpkin Clove right there. I think I read the notes on this: clove buds, ground cinnamon, pinch of nutmeg, and fresh pumpkin. Quintessential pumpkin fragrance. This one's a little less cinnamon than sweet cinnamon pumpkin, a little bit more clove, but a whole lot more juicy than sweet cinnamon pumpkin is. And so that's Pumpkin Clove there. Once again, this and white pumpkin and sweet cinnamon pumpkin are very similar. So if you want similar quintessential pumpkin spice like craft store fragrances, then go with any of those. We then have the Garden Retreat collection. In the past 2 months, when I've been just like going through my collection, I've just had a mass appreciation for the tried and true fragrances that we always get. And I'm like, oh my God, these are like so good. Like there's a reason these keep coming back. They're always like, we rag on repackages, and yeah, I still enjoy more new fragrances, but there's a reason that these are like tried and true and keep coming back, because some of them are just really solid fragrances that came around from like Slacken & Co era and have like sort of like, you know, stand the test of time. And they're just really good quintessential fragrances that it's sort of like, it's not fall without blank. It's like not Christmas without fresh balsam. It's not Christmas or fall without sweet cinnamon pumpkin kind of thing. So I was really jonesing for a sweet cinnamon pumpkin this year. I was like so excited when I finally got it on sale because I've had it in the past, but no more in my collection. So I was really looking forward to it, and so we have it in this collection. That's sweet cinnamon pumpkin right there. This one is warm cinnamon and fresh ground clove, vanilla cream and brown sugar, white wax with the curling thin wicks, as you can see right there. This one is heavier on cinnamon. They're all similar but different. This one's maybe a little bit more cinnamon. It's not as sweet as pumpkin clove or white pumpkin, and it has a pumpkin pie type of fragrance, like pumpkin pie filling. There's a slight butteriness to it as well. Everyone knows sweet cinnamon pumpkin at this point. Quintessential, beautiful, like craft store fall pumpkin fragrance. So sweet cinnamon pumpkin right there. The other one in that collection that I really wanted was Champagne Apple and Honey, which I believe was an online exclusive last year during COVID lockdown, and I was not ordering candles, so I didn't buy it. This is Pink Lady Apple, Sparkling Champagne, and Jasmine Honey. If you recall, Champagne Apple and Honey is a body care fragrance that came out a long time ago. This is the original one we have here. I was just always just mediocre on this. Pink Lady, Apple, Sparkling Champagne, Jasmine Honey, Boysenberry Nectar, and Autumn Woods. Yeah, Champagne Apple and Honey. I thought this would have maybe a little bit more of an effervescent, bright, like slightly bitter, tart champagne note, as it is apparent in the body care, but not so much in this. This one, the Pink Lady Apple, shines very brightly. It's very, 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 very fruity. At first I was getting a little bit of a kerosene component, but then it kind of burned away, so I was happy about that. But the Pink Lady Apple really comes through, and it's the same Pink Lady Apple, unfortunately, as the one in Pink Apple Punch slash, oh god, what is it? Aloha Kiwi Passion Fruit. Even though I don't think it lists it, there's a very like kind of like the same Pink Lady Apple fragrance, which was also same as Green Apple Orchard, which is also same as Wasabi Apple. It's that same super fruity, bright, almost tropical apple fragrance. Really comes through in here, but this is probably the most tolerable in my opinion. Obviously just my opinion, not everyone's nose is the same. In my opinion, I feel like this is the most tolerable. The other ones go way more artificial and harsh and sharp and grody that I really don't appreciate. This one, it doesn't go too far, but it's still nonetheless that same Pink Lady Apple fragrance. But there is a little bit of a sweetness that is not a artificial grody sweetness, but like a natural honeyed sweetness from the honey component. Once again, I really don't get too much champagne in here. Maybe a little bit of a bright citrus note, but not as like champagne, so to speak, as the body care. But if you're looking for a really, really fruity fragrance, almost even summery, very much the pink apple punch route or aloha kiwi passion fruit, then check out champagne apple and honey. It's not very fall to me when I was burning it, but I'm still, I like body care fragrances in candle form, so that's why I picked it up. And I believe that's it for all the fall stuff. Let's see, toasted coconut cupcake. I did not pick that up because it smelled just like coconut macaroon to me, which I enjoyed this. There's a very warm, toasty, like baking in the oven, actually smells like macaroon or like cookies baking in the oven with a little bit of like a ginger feel to it that I really enjoyed, but I still have this, so I didn't need it again. There was some speculation of it, I think, smelling like pumpkin coconut. I don't think that is the case. I have pumpkin coconut here. There's more of a nutmeg and caramel crumble type of feel to this. This is a little bit more like crumbly and just like I can like munch into it, mixed with like a caramel feel to it. It has a little bit more of just like a different gourmand quality to it, but I think it's the caramel and a little bit more of a nutmeg versus ginger quality that I get in pumpkin coconut. So I don't think it's that, but I do think, at least on cold, that it smells very, very, very similar to coconut macaroon, but I'm not going to burn it, so I can't say that with confidence. Pineapple pound cake smelled also similar to pineapple cream puff. I think both even list notes of powdered sugar in there. Yeah, this is puff pastry with rich cream with pineapple. And yeah, the other one was like pound cake, powdered sugar, and pineapple. Yeah, it smells so immensely similar. Maybe minor differences to it, but not major enough that I needed to pick up another one, especially because I'm not really in the mood for pineapple. I really don't care for pineapple fragrances, and I still have pineapple cream puff right here. So I did not pick that one up. There's a whole, let's see, Halloween collection that I had access to, but I didn't pick up any of those. Girlfriend, which is just raspberry pink peony, I believe, repackaged. Had that in the past, I just really don't care for it. It's a decent fragrance, but I just really don't need it. We also have Vampire Blood, which is like red guava lava, kind of repackaged, very juicy, fruity, like sort of guava-y berry fragrance that I don't need that either. There was also Pumpkin Carving in super cute like wraparound like Haunted Mansion wallpaper packaging, which was really pretty, but I still have Pumpkin Patch from years back that I didn't need that. Orange pumpkin, spice blend, and molasses. This has more of a very heavy molasses fragrance to it that none of the other pumpkin fragrances have. It was also heirloom pumpkin and was also pumpkin carving. This is like super old from like Saiken era pumpkin patch fragrance. It's a good quintessential awesome pumpkin fragrance. It's more of like a dark heaviness from the molasses, but I already still have this one, so I didn't need it in the Halloween collection. But if you don't have that, the packaging is super cute on it. There's somebody mowing the lawn and it's very loud and they circle my house many times, and I'm grateful for it because I don't have to mow the lawn, but I live on like a shared portion of many acres of property with tons of grass on it, and it takes the person like the entire day to mow the lawn. So if you hear loud lawn mowing going back in the background, that's what that is. The other Halloween fragrance is Wicked Apple, which is the same as Caramel Apple, which I really enjoy, but I still have many of these, and these also do the rusting, color changing wicks that dud out on you, and I have to cotton ball like crazy. As you can see here, they have really puny wicks, and it struggles to pull out. So I don't need any more of those because I have many of these and they've all dudded out, which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. Thanksgiving from last year was a similar fragrance to that, except the caramel was different. That was like butterscotch toffee mixed with apple. This is just straight up caramel mixed with apple. I actually prefer Thanksgiving because it's just a little bit stronger and more juicier and robust. But if you miss that fragrance, then Caramel Apple does exist. It's still a good, very quintessential fragrance, and I really enjoyed it when it first came out, but now that it's dudded out, I'm not so into it anymore. And that was Wicked Apple, and then lastly, I'm losing my train of thought because this lawn mowing is very loud. Haunted Night is the other one in that collection. That smelled disgusting. Well, not disgusting, I shouldn't say that, that's mean. It wasn't my favorite. That one had notes of mahogany, sage, and verbena. Definitely smelled the sage and verbena. It's like this sort of like soapy, musty fragrance. Really get the verbena in there. It often comes off sort of like citrus, like a lemon verbena type fragrance, and the sage was really in there too. It was not at all what I expected. It was a new fragrance, but I just really don't like verbena or sage fragrances, so I really didn't care for that. So that existed, but it wasn't anything like grand or amazing that I needed to get. There was also spiced cardamom, which was very heavy on the cinnamon and the spices and the cardamom. It's very intense and very strong and almost pungent. Reminds me a lot of cinnamon clove buds, but if it was like dialed up even more than cinnamon clove buds, like red hot spicy ass cinnamon and spices. The cardamom gives it a slightly more like ethnic vibe to it, that it gives it a little bit more like an exotic feel to it, but it's kind of like cinnamon clove buds, just made a little bit stronger and more intense. I don't love cinnamon and clove buds, so I didn't need that, but that existed. And I think that's it for the newness that was there, but I didn't pick up. Yeah, the rest of that, like fall market collection was all repackaged, so I didn't need that. And then we have Pumpkin Pecan Waffles in body care, which I'm so stoked for. If you recall, I did a video highlighting this on my previous channel, and it did come out as a 2-in-1 body wash and bubble bath in 2014 that I loved to pieces. This was just very strange that year. It just came out in this. It was $16.50. It's super thick. And this was the second year it came out. The first year it came out was, I believe, in 2013, as you can see right here. Became a smash hit, as you guys know. What I'm talking about, like the rusted, that is what happens. Like, this is what happens to like pumpkin spice and vanilla candles. The wicks turn like orange or rust colored, and the lids turn rusted. So just keep that in mind. The candles do go bad, at least in warm climates such as mine. But this was the first year it came out, and then it came out the second year. It was such a hit, so they gave us body care of it. Just in this, they also gave it us in foaming hand soap, which I also picked up, but that smelled like ashtrays. The hand soap was nasty. There was like an ashtrays component to it that was not great, but the body wash was absolutely scrumptious. Oh my god, it was like just pure, juicy Pumpkin Pecan Waffles action. What happens a lot with Pumpkin Pecan Waffles is it changes colors and it kind of smells burnt and grody, and you really get that like burnt pecan note in there, and it smells like oily, grody nuts that have gone bad in the pantry. But in the body wash, you get that pure, juicy waffle batter, like golden brown vanilla waffle batter just all over your body, mixed with the like sort of pumpkin, pecan spice feel to it. It's absolutely delicious. I friggin' love this body wash of it. I kind of cherish it, and it became really, really thick over the years, as you can see there. It's kind of run slow, but love this. So we saw it was supposed to come out last year, but maybe COVID or something had production issues, so that didn't happen. But it is finally out this year in this packaging, which isn't quite as enticing, but it is what it is. Can't really complain because it's just out. This is maple syrup, golden waffles, pumpkin spice, and brown sugar, and that's what that looks like, and it has a silver lid on it. Oh my god, this I use as hand wash, so I can't attest to the actual performance of it in the shower. I'll follow up on that later, but it still smells the same, and that same pure, juicy, like maple. It's not overly syrupy, but there's a syrupy sweetness to it with that golden brown waffle batter vanilla action with the pecan pumpkin spice fragrance in there. Absolutely delicious. I know some people might not want to smell like pumpkin pecan waffles, but I would almost even be tempted to buy the spray of this just because I have really grown to love the hell out of pumpkin pecan waffles. I don't know what have come over me, but I actually enjoy more bakery fragrances now than I do floral. I know, it's crazy. But I just cannot get enough of the bakery fragrances lately, and pumpkin pecan waffles has been my go-to. And so I've been just like going to town with this and the candied pecans. It's just so strong and scrumptious and delicious, and like an iconic BBW fragrance. You just have to be very careful to keep it to like a 3-hour burn, because after that it gets scorched and it's that burnt, grody nastiness. But I've been really enjoying the hell out of pumpkin pecan waffles. I was really stoked to see the shower gel available, so I'm really curious to see how the performance of this is compared to this version. And I kind of can use both of them with reckless abandon now, because I have plenty of it, and we're good to go there. So really stoked about that. Kind of want to, like, once everything comes out on the floor, I will probably try the spray, and if there's some kind of promo for it, I might pick it up, because I kind of do want to smell like pumpkin pecan waffles all day. It's just so scrumptious. So there's that. Ooh, oh my god, rambling your head off, so sorry, but if you've been starved for content, then you cannot complain. Lastly, we finally have Bahama Fizz with this very juicy label. I love how long and yellow this banana is right there, with two strategically placed kiwis and spritzers of like white liquid surrounding it. So I really enjoyed that, and it says Bahama Fizz right on the tip right there. This one says fresh kiwi slices, island pineapple, coconut water, and a splash of rum. This was strange. It just came up randomly out of nowhere for SAS as an online exclusive. Coconut Cabana was, I think, the other one, or Coconut Colada. I can't even keep track. But Bahama Fizz came out later on. And the moment I saw it, I was like, oh my god, I need to get it. Like, Bahama Fizz is a super OG fragrance from like 2012, Slacken & Co. I still have a small 4 ounce of it right here, and that's what that looks like. I did have the 3-wick of it, but have long finished it. This one says, refreshing and delicious, a sparkling cocktail of fresh kiwi, island banana, and orange flower infused with spiced rum. So it's pretty much the same notes. I know a lot of people were so confused that there was a banana on the label, but for me it made perfect sense because every time I think about Bahama Fizz, especially because I'm acquainted with the original notes, I always loved Bahama Fizz because it did have a prominent banana note, and that's what made it like different or unique from all the other like Seaside Escapes and like other Caribbean Escape type of like fruity fragrances. We don't get a whole lot of banana, and there was banana in this, and that's why I always loved it. And so in my memory, I always associate it as a banana fragrance. So the banana on the label made total sense to me, and it might make sense to you if you were here back in the 2012-13 era. This came out originally in this blue wax. I remember this and Tiki Beach were like the 2 new fragrances that were really promoting that spring of 2012. It was Tiki Beach and Bahama Fizz, and they were like, you know, signage for that all over the store because those were the 2 new fragrances they were pushing. Obviously Tiki Beach was far more successful because we still see it to this day. Bahama Fizz came out again in pink wax the year following, and I think it might have burned a little bit better, but I didn't pick it up because the first original one burned so atrociously. If you recall, Slacken & Co. era, 2011, 12, 13, and into 14 were notorious for some of the worst performing candles from Bath & Body Works. Just they would nub out the moment you light them, just like atrocious, horrible, puny wicks. Like if you think you get puny wicks now, like you ain't seen nothing unless you were in the 2013 and 14 era, because 12 and 11, you would light those and they would immediately fizzle out. It was just terrible. Like Little Balladeer, every video would just be like, oh my god, it's another dud, it's going right back to the store. Who can blame her, because they really had bad performance. And so the blue 3-wick one was no exception. I love the fragrance, but it did eventually dud out. So I was really excited to see it in modern day BBW because they have largely fixed those wick issues. You know, you might get some puniness at the mid-range point, but still way of an improvement from 2012 and 2013. And Bahama Fizz was always a very nostalgic fragrance for me just because it was when I first entered the BBW fandom. And so I jumped on this so quick, and I was really excited to see it, even though I think a lot of people were just like, what is this fragrance? And a lot of people actually don't care about it. But I have such a nostalgic connection with it, and that's why I enjoy it so much. So that was Bahama Fizz right here, and that's what that looks like. It burns great. It was plenty strong for me. Oh my god, we had it in an open concept area, and I could smell it all around. There is a slight aerosol or kerosene vibe to Bahama Fizz that was always present in the original one. That was a little bit of a turnoff, but I feel like it's been a little bit more amped up, especially because the fragrance also seems stronger because it's not puning out like it did on the original one. That there is a slight aerosol or kerosene vibe to this. That makes it a little bit more artificial than you might imagine, but this is just so nostalgic to me that I kind of can't rag on it. It's just like, it takes me back to the beginning days of BBW. But what you do get, you most certainly get a banana in there. It's kind of similar to the coconut colada banana. It's kind of like runts-ish. It's a little bit candied. It's not as warm as the banana bunk cake, but kind of similar to the candied artificialness that you get in Banana Cabana / Tropical Cabana / Banana Split Milkshake. Kind of similar to that. And I like it because I like banana fragrances. The kiwi in there does give it a very tartness. I think that's sort of what gives it that sort of like aerosol, kerosene, tart, almost like a citrus vibe to it. It gives a tartness that like a citrus fragrance would give it. It says coconut water and a splash of rum. Yeah, maybe there's a little bit of that. There's very much a very like, almost like an effervescent, like fizzy drink fragrance to it that you get from the other notes in there. And I like that. And so that's why I was really excited to see Bahama Fizz, even though I feel like probably anybody who was an original fan is probably like kind of faded away at this point. But I was really excited to see it. It has a very nostalgic factor to it, and you really can't complain about that juicy label right there. Comparing it to Banana Kiwi Colada, which we have right here, which was a test fragrance, which was actually I think it was a White Barn exclusive, maybe, I don't remember. But this is a fragrance that's sure to delight, blends tropical bananas, kiwis, and coconut. So you would think it's the same fragrance, but it's not. This, oh my god, this one was sooting like crazy. If anything, I would say this is probably a little bit more palatable than Bahama Fizz's because this has a very tart kiwi and aerosol vibe to it. And it's a little bit more artificial and harsh, whereas this one's a little bit more creamy. Has a very creamy smoothie colada fragrance to it. It has a very similar banana runts note. The banana is more creamy and more prominent and less buried by the tartness of Bahama Fizz. Bahama Fizz is a little bit more tart and sharp. This one's a little bit more creamy and smoothie-ish that I really enjoy from the banana in there. And this one, I feel like the coconut is more of your like coconut colada, pina colada type of creamy coconut vibe is a lot more prominent in this. It burned great for the first few times and I really enjoyed it, but then now it soots like crazy and every time I burn it, it has like a crayon-y vibe to it because a lot of times Bath & Body Works coconut fragrances have like a crayon-y vibe to it when it kind of get like murky and gross. And that's what I got from this. But I think I probably like this fragrance a little bit more, but this one had such a nostalgic factor to it that I really enjoyed this one too. So that was all I had to say about Bahama Fizz and Banana Kiwi Colada. And ooh, oh my god, I think that's it. Thank you so much if you watched this whole video. I will try to do reviews of all these. I love fall candles, so we'll go from there. Let me know if there's any review you want to see first of any of these candles. Let me know your thoughts on what you bought. I kind of just like, you know, a lot of these fragrances I didn't have in my collection anymore. I've been going through empties like crazy, like just finishing like tens and tens of candles just because I've had time to burn them. So I was like, I'm ready to replenish with some juicy fall awesomeness. So I'm really excited to get into some of these. So yeah, thanks so much for watching and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.